When the snow falls silent, the snow was swallowing her alive. And Joanna Wells wanted it too. She had stopped fighting the Wyoming blizzard an hour ago, maybe two. Time meant nothing now. Her fingers had gone numb, her boots were buried, and the wind howled like all the grief she'd been carrying since they buried her boy 3 months back. Let the cold take her. Let it all just end. If you want to watch videos like this one, so visit our channel, and don't forget to subscribe. We provide a lot of interesting stories, and express your thoughts in commensalities. When she heard the voice, "Ma'am, you can't stay here." Joanna's eyes cracked open. Through the swirling white, a small figure emerged, a girl, maybe 8 years old, wrapped in furs that made her look like a tiny bear. Dark eyes stared down at Joanna with the kind of worry that seemed too old for such a young face. "I'm fine," Joanna whispered, though they both knew it was a lie. "No, you ain't." The girl, Leah, she'd later learn, grabbed Joanna's frozen hand with surprising strength. "My PA's got a fire. Come on." Joanna wanted to refuse, to sink back into the snow and let the world fade away. But something in the child's voice reminded her of her own son's stubborn determination. Before she knew it, she was stumbling through the storm, following this strange little guardian angel through the white. The cabin appeared like a mirage. Warm light spilled from the windows, and smoke rose from the chimney in a perfect gray ribbon. Inside, a man stood by the fire, tall, broad-shouldered, with gentle eyes that held their own kind of sorrow. He looked at Joanna, then at his daughter, and simply nodded. He never spoke a word. Eliezer was his name. Wrapped Joanna in thick blankets and set hot coffee in her shaking hands. His silence wasn't cold or unwelcoming. It was careful, like he understood that sometimes words could hurt more than they healed. For the first time since losing her son, Joanna felt something other than crushing emptiness. She felt safe. Days turned to weeks. Joanna helped with small tasks around the ranch, her strength slowly returning. Leah chattered enough for 3 people, filling the quiet spaces with stories about her dolls and the wild horses she'd seen. And Elias. Elias spoke through everything except words. He spoke through the extra quilt he'd lay by her bed when the nights grew bitter cold. Through the way he'd pause his work to make sure she'd eaten. Through glances that said he understood loss in ways that ran bone-deep. Joanna found herself studying his face during the long evenings, the way his jaw tightened when Leah mentioned her mother. How his hands would still sometimes, like he was listening to voices only he could hear. One night, when Leah was asleep, Joanna finally asked, "What happened to her, to Anna?" Elias looked into the fire for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was rusty, like an old gate that hadn't been opened in years. Soldier came through, drunk, angry about something. Started getting rough with Leah. His hands clenched. I had to stop him. Fight got bad. Anna, she tried to help. Got between us when he pulled his gun. He was quiet for a long moment. Bullet. Wasn't meant for her. Oh, Elias. Haven't spoken much since. Words feel ... dangerous. Joanna reached across the space between their chairs and touched his hand. He didn't pull away. The peace shattered on a Tuesday morning when hoofbeats thundered into their yard. A marshal sat astride a black horse, his badge catching the winter sun like a warning. "Elias Morgan," the marshal called. "I'm here about the death of Corporal James Mitchell." Joanna's blood turned to ice. She looked at Elias, saw the resignation settle over his features like a death shroud. "Pa," Leia's small voice came from the doorway. The Marshal Grady Kane. He introduced himself, was not an evil man, but he was a thorough one. He had witnesses, statements, a case that would see Elias hang. "I can give you tonight," Kane said, something like sympathy in his eyes. "Morning comes, we ride to Cheyenne." That night, as Elias sat staring into the fire, Joanna made her choice. "We're leaving," she told him. "Leia and I tonight." "Joanna, no." Her voice was stronger than it had been in months. "That girl needs someone, and you gave me back my life when I was ready to throw it away. Let me give you yours." At dawn, Kane found only Elias. Joanna and Leia were gone, vanished like smoke into the endless Wyoming landscape. But love, Joanna discovered, has its own kind of stubborn gravity. 3 days' ride from the ranch, she stopped, turned around. Leia looked up at her with those knowing eyes. "We're going back, aren't we?" "Yes, little one, we are." They found Elias exactly where she knew they would, at Anna's grave, behind the cabin, his hands folded, his head bowed. When he looked up and saw them, something broke open in his face. "You came back. Did you think I wouldn't?" He smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him, I hoped. That night, as they planned their escape to California, Elias spoke more than he had in 3 years. About Anna, about forgiveness, about second chances that arrive disguised as snowstorms and stubborn little girls. And Joanna realized that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin not with once upon a time, but with when I thought it was over. The snow had stopped falling. Spring was coming, and they were going home together.